not I, my cat, my kitten right here, decided to climb on to the button to turn off my PC. So
Yeah, we'll edit all this out in post, so don't worry.
yes. Well, this is part two now of Michael
The
Madsen.
Tarantino years.
Yes. Did we have anything else to say before Kill Bill?
No. We're literally just yeah. So we're talking about how he was kind of Mr. Blonde in Reservoir Dogs was his kind of iconic character, and
Yeah.
his persona is inseparable from that kind of that particular role, quite rightly.
And I mean,
Tarantino.
No, go ahead.
And Tarantino, that obviously they had a good creative relationship together. They obviously vibed with each other because they would go on to collaborate several more times together for their careers. So.
And I think there are also, in terms of Reservoir Dogs, there are some songs that get used 1,000 times in films. And some that once they're used that one time, that's it. It's game over. You can't kind of do it again. And Stuck in the Middle is definitely one.
I mean, it's one of the great kind of tonal dissonance kind of scenes, isn't it? Something really happy compared to something really gruesome. It's like
One of the other songs I think of with that sort of thing is Don't Stop Me Now is Shaun of the Dead, which came about because Edgar Wright wanted to do something really violent to the happiest song he could find.
And now I think of Freebirds to the church scene in the first Kingsman movie.
Yeah, Kingsman. It's just, you can't get rid of it. It's just why did you do this to us? So after this, Tarantino, he was... Madsen was originally going to be in John Travolta's role in Pulp Fiction. I can't remember the reason exactly why that didn't happen.
The whole fan theory that all of Tarantino's films take place in the same universe, and there's always links. So Mr. Blonde is the brother of John Travolta's character,
who is called
Vic Vega.
Vincent Vega.
It's Vince, isn't it? Vince. It's Vince is the name of his character in Kill Me Again.
I mean, Mr. Blonde is Vic. I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, Vic. Yes, they're Vic and Vince Vega.
Yeah, and obviously Vincent is his thing in that. Is he in Jackie Brown? I can't remember.
He's not. So he skipped Pulp Fiction, Jackie Brown, but then was in at least small roles for most of his other films. So.
Yeah. And then. Kill Bill comes along. Okay, let's settle the debate early on. One film or two?
Okay. Two.
Two. It's two.
If you get to see the whole bloody affair where it's been re-edited and slightly kind of the chronology messed around with a bit to make it work as one film, then that would definitely be one film. But as they are, I think they're so stylistically different from a starting point, and. I mean, obviously, it's one story, but it's a first installment and a second installment.
And I say it's one because it was shot as one and designed to be one. It's kind of only eventually sort of the editing and kind of the later on that it's kind of rearranged to be two so that he didn't have to lose any scenes. And again, I've argued that all the Lord of the Rings are one film because it was all shot together and you can watch them all back to back. So tough.
He could say it's one film all he wants. He's already made his 10. Like, watching this through the eyes of, like, how would I edit this to be... Because I can't find the whole bloody affair. But thinking, how would I edit this to be that? Like, you would move things around, certainly. And part one is, like, the Lady Snowblood martial arts movie. And the second one is a Western. Like...
I mean, it's very much the first. I mean, they're all the whole Kill Bill enterprise is his tribute to all the low-budget, violent genre films he grew up with. And as you say, particularly the first one is mostly the martial arts, kind of Hong Kong martial arts kind of films, and the second one, it's various violent westerns, from the people. For fights of Leone and Kabuchi, those kind of guys.
I will. If you think of violent western, you have to go to Peckinpah as well to a certain extent.
But then there's like some film noir kind of elements
Yeah.
in the second one as well.
Still keeping with the martial arts and the wire fu in various bits
Yeah,
as well.
yeah.
I will give him this. It's 2 movies, but if you're looking at it as one, this is the first like Tarantino movie, in my opinion. The way he's blending so many genres together.
Yeah,
yeah,
I was going to say,
like,
I think he did that with Pulp Fiction as well.
it just
Maybe less obviously, but I think it was there.
yeah,
Isn't it?
I think this is the most kind of. I'm not sure if this is the ultimate one, but I think it's the most Tarantino in terms of his cinephilia
Yeah.
moments. This literally is him just going, I don't care if half of this doesn't work tonally. I don't care if the music doesn't work for the story. I'm going to do it because I saw it in another movie and this is cool. That's all this movie is really for 4 hours.
So I think there is like a magpie, like picking out things he likes, mix them all together and piling everything up. I think this is the most successful for me, the most successful version of that. These 2 parts. And it's just so the first part especially. I mean, everyone, it's a very easy one to just pop on and just lose yourself and have fun with.
Yeah.
I've seen Volume 1 probably twice as many times as I've seen Volume 2 over the years.
Like Volume 2 is kind of one that you exist if you're sitting down or watching both. You can just watch the first one.
That's not because of this. I really do rate Volume 2. I think it's a great movie, but it's just it's not one to kind of lose yourself in. You're going to gear yourself up for it, and it does kind of work better falling straight on from the first one.
And you can watch.
You can watch the first one in isolation, can't you? You can't really watch the second one in isolation.
Yeah, that's exactly what I was going to say. Part 2 is not like a cohesive film without Part 1.
Yeah. So this whole thing, it's the story. It's a big old revenge story. So Uma Thurman plays Beatrix Kiddo, name not revealed till very late in the second film. She's known as the bride. She's killed, basically victim of a shootout at the wedding altar. By her former allies, the Deadly Viper Assassination Squad, led by Bill. She wakes up 4 years later from a coma, realizes she's lost a baby, and then sets out with a death list to kill the Vipers, and of course ending with Bill, and has to globetrot, in order to do that because they've ended up scattered to the 4 winds. She's got to go and get a samurai sword first, Hattori Hanzo samurai sword. A niche genre reference there, because not only is he a mythical kind of figure in Japanese folklore, but the Sonny Chiba who plays him also played the character in a TV series from the 70s. So
and obviously the main inspiration for this, I mean, there are lots, but the main one is the 1973 film Lady Snowblood, which was adapted from the manga. And I actually I've watched the film Lady Snowblood many years ago, and I think I read a couple of the volumes of the manga when it got translated after this. Probably it got translated in like 2005 and 6, so it probably was actually, there was a popularity spike after Kill Bill came out, people going back to Lady Snowblood, which comes to that. So Tarantino wouldn't have the translation of the manga, but I have read a couple of volumes of that. I did an article for Horror Addict several years ago, and the original Lady Snowblood is a very good film actually. There was like a sequel and a remake as well, but it is a very good kind of revenge
I mean, some of his films are basically glossier remakes of these kind of low budget efforts they really admire. So I haven't seen Lady Snowblood, but I've heard it's very, very close to Volume 1 of Kill Bill in terms of like revenge plot and female kind of protagonist and everything like that.
And apparently he made kind of a lot of the cast and crew watch Lady Snowblood whilst working on Kill Bill. I'm not sure. It's the final one of the chapters. Is it called Lady Snowblood, or is it just the Blood Splattered Bride? Because that obviously is another film as well.
But Blood Splattered Bride. I don't think that's chapter 1. I think it's Blood Splattered Bride. So Michael Madsen in this. So he's one of the Deadly Vipers. He is Bill's younger brother, Bud, who's doesn't get a lot to do in the first film. You see him along the other Vipers, standing around her apparent corpse. She didn't kill Bill's. Bill's headshot didn't actually kill her, but it's looking like she's dead, and they're all like towering over her. And then you see him very briefly at the end of Volume 1, which is like a bit of a flash forward. You don't know who he's speaking to at the time. It turns out in Volume 2, it's actually Bill. Bill's come to warn him that she's out to get them all, and he's sitting outside his trailer. And he's interesting because he's the only one of the Vipers who seems to have any kind of regret, any remorse about what they actually did. And one of the great lines from the whole film. It's a very good script throughout from Tarantino. I think it's one of his best. But yeah, he comes out with, "That woman deserves her revenge, and we deserve to die."
But then again, so does she.
Yep.
Yeah.
Too bad she won't live, but then again, who does? Sorry, exactly. I've got to get Blade Runner in there somewhere.
Yeah, so I'm going to focus particularly on Volume 2 in this because that's the one of the majority of the Michael Madsen scenes. So in the first film, she gets her sword, she kills Oranishi and Vivica Fox.
And I will say that the House of Leaves Crazy 88 stuff is one of the greatest kind of like one-on-many fights of probably all cinema now. It's as much as I'll rip into Tarantino, it's glorious, good fun.
It's great. It's great build-up. You get the long take going through the club, and following her into the bathroom and back out again. And then you get her killing a few of the minions, then go with a ball and chain, and then the army rushing her, and then more guys, and then finally boss battle.
One of the things I will say, this does feed on into part 2 as well when we get to Michael Madsen as well. Rewatching this again, I'd seen them both like 5-6 years ago, and bits from the first one since. But rewatching this again, I mean, I knew Tarantino liked his kind of slightly cheesy taking like exploitation stuff, but watching this again, there is a thing where you go, has he done it to the extent that it now takes away from any immersion in it in a bid to show off this stylistic choices, the slightly cheesy wire foo, the changing to black and white, the crash zooms that he likes. Like nobody does crash zooms now unless you're in Evil Dead. Like this is kind of for a very, very specific reason. Like, no, you can't just do that now for fun because it's now an overdone cliche and everyone thinks it's overdone. Some of the music choices as well, even when they're walking down the corridor and you got the da 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 and all that music. Now, I don't know if now that's a cliche because of this, but watching it now, something doesn't fit with the thematic tone of it. I think there's just, for me, there's slightly too much mishmashing of everything as a tribute for it to stand out on its own as a coherent tonal piece.
Yeah, I think the first one, though, is like an extravaganza. It's meant to be so extra, it's like it's the most Tarantino thing, no one's ever seen it up to this point.
It's something that goes for extra. It works on its own as something that's obviously got to feed into its own side.
I think he does. I think he does dial back a bit on that in the sequel, though, apart from the Pai Mei scene, which is still quite, kind of almost parodic of those kind of kung fu movies. Generally, the rest of it's kind of a lot grittier, I think, and kind of more dialed back. I mean, even like the big fight in Volume 2 in the trailer between Beatrix and El Driver, it's much more visceral and kind of nasty. It reminded me quite a bit of the fight between Connery's Bond and Red Grant in From Russia with Love. In a very confined space and throwing each other through walls and stuff.
You do
whatever objects that comes to hands.
You do still get shots of kind of feet going. It's a tracking of feet going like that occasionally.
And kind of slightly cartoony sound effects when people fall over and stuff.
And it's stuff like that where it's kind of the weird thing for me is he's going for an extravaganza and a tribute to those, but the trouble is if you go for tribute to those, you've got to do, I think, the whole thing tongue in cheek, and I think it's just on the line of being too serious for it to work. It's great to watch, but tonally there's something slightly off.
My favorite innocuous sound effect, though, throughout the two films is in the fight with Go-Go when she gets kind of knocked off her feet and lands with the sound of bowling pins, being hit,
Yeah.
an alley.
And obviously, so this is 2003. The first one comes out. Is it 2003, and then the second one's 2004, sort of straddling either half of the new year. Please note that is obviously the second time in 2003 we've had a major director have a bowling pin noise as people get knocked over, as they did in the Matrix Reloaded with all of the Agent Smiths. One of them gets a free pass. The other one is apparently a horror piece of just like stupidity.
The cartoony sound effects in this do pervade it. Like when people jump, there's like whoop, and like just silly, even in the first one. But my favorite bit of like comic relief is anytime Mai-Pei, the kung fu master, like says something, he flicks his beard. I crack up every time.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yes, so she's killed off the first two targets. You get a flashback to her relationship with Bill, because before she's apparently killed at the altar. Bill has turned up for her wedding. He's hanging around outside playing his flute very ominously, and
spaghetti western style music.
Yeah. Not wanting to go into her past with him. She introduced him as her dad, freshly back from Australia, from the mines in Australia. And it goes to, obviously, they had a relationship, they had a sexual relationship. I think a few people comment on basically how she broke Bill's heart. When she jilted him and ran away. And obviously, she carries his child. You get off back of that, you get flashbacks to their relationship, and then how he takes her to train with his master, Pai Mei, and you get a good old-fashioned kung fu training montage with lots of ridiculous exercises to teach you things about spirituality and energy, and there
punching
is no
wood.
spoon and all that. And then obviously, she's got two more of the Vipers killed before she gets to Bill. So Bud, by this point, apart from being the only one with any kind of guilt, he's also kind of the loser of the group. Really, he's basically the sad stuff. Living out of his trailer, he works as a bouncer in a strip club. He claims to have sold off his, pawned off his priceless Hattori Hanzo samurai sword for drinking money, essentially. But you find out later that isn't quite true. And he's, I do think he's one of the more interesting characters in this, because he's probably the only person apart from the children, the two child characters in this, but apart from the bride, who you have sort of any kind of sympathy for, because he was apparently used to be very good at what he did, and then he's just become this complete, shadow of his former self, and just living a sad, lonely existence, basically. But even to that extent, he's still got his wiles about him. He's still street smart. I mean, basically, he takes the bride out without having to use a sword. Basically, he's just waiting for his trailer. She opens the door and he shoots her full of he's packed a shotgun with rock salt, which seems particularly cruel. So
yeah,
the salt seeping into a fresh wound.
So it's only and it's only because she's kind of mastered the 1-inch punch, which there's kind of no way to know this. That she managed to dig herself out of being buried alive,
yes. So despite being kind of feeling a bit of guilt, he's still a merciless bastard. Basically, he knows his shotgun in his face, but says, "Oh, I know, I'll bury you alive now," and particularly menacing, kind of him as associate, the tie her up, and she's struggling and trying to get her out of the hole, and he just kind of. He just kind of really it kind of stops, takes a beat, and just says, "You're going underneath the ground tonight, and that's all there is to it." Like he speaks like an unruly child or something.
The worst part of the movie for me, though, is that rock salt part where he just starts talking about how big her boobs are, and so how much more it'll hurt. Like that was weird and took me out of it.
Please remember, it's a Tarantino script.
yeah. I mean, he's very much Bill's brother, isn't he? There is like a sadistic kind of streak to him, and I think this idea that he has not forgiven her for the main offence she's caused him and his family is that she broke Bill's heart. She ran away from him, so he's going to make her hurt for it.
Yeah.
Other good lines.
I'm also just thinking very quickly
Yeah.
again about the heist movies that we've covered, and the idea that essentially all the bad guys are essentially brought down by something out of their control. It's normally luck that does
Yeah.
it, and kind of knowing the 1-inch punch, that's kind of something he couldn't really have predicted because he's not as far as we know, he's not a martial artist. You never actually see him do much assassinating fighting, really. Do you?
Bill does ask him. I don't suppose you've kept up with your sword play, so it's clear
Yeah.
he could do some of the stuff at some point, But
And he knows about the worth of the katanas, but in terms of that kind of
yeah,
very
it's
specific martial arts technique. And if you shot somebody full of rock salt as well, you don't expect them to be able to 1-inch punch their way out of a.
I mean, it's interesting
coffin,
that Elle Driver goes for like when she betrays him, she goes for like a sneaky way of doing it. I mean, I think she could have probably taken him in a fight, because he's well past best. I mean, he's a big guy, so maybe he could have overpowered him. But yeah, I think sword wise, if it came down to duel, she'd definitely win.
But she is a one that does the sneak attack anyway, because she kills who's the trainer guy, the Shaolin monk guy, whatever his name is. Poisons him rather than beating him in a fight, so she is known for kind of using a sneak attack divergence to get her own way.
Definitely, yeah. One thing I'd never really occurred to me about, I noticed in the trivia for this, every person killed on screen throughout these two films is killed by a female character. The men never get to kill anyone.
Interesting.
I mean, the first Bill comes obviously as headshotting Beatrix, but he doesn't succeed in killing her. So so the bride kills Vanessa Green, Buck, Go, Crazy 88, Serenishi, Bill, and then Elle kills Bud, Pai Mei, and Oren kills obviously all the Tokyo gangsters. So all the on-screen deaths come from them. I suppose you could argue Bill does get one because he's the guy in the anime sequence. The origins of Oren in the first film. He's the guy who kills her parents. The guy with the long hair in the anime sequence. So
in terms of live action.
animated Bill gets to kill her dad. But apart from that, it's all the women who have the power in this, and who are the forces of vengeance,
Well, that's one thing I was looking out for this time is one of my issues with this, like these two films or one film or whatever, was how much time Lucy Liu gets dedicated to her versus, I mean, at the very least, like the first Viper that she kills, and also Elle Driver, but Bud's, he gets a lot. It's just contemporary, where we see his, like you were talking about, his sad sack life with his boss who hates him and not showing up for work.
It's only Oren and Bud really who get their own dedicated segments, isn't it? Kind of in volumes 1 and 2 respectively. The others kind of have to share screen time. I mean, Elle Driver, Daryl Hannah's did it quite a bit, but kind of here and there, she kind of comes and goes throughout. I mean, it still makes me wince slightly. It's like, of all like the ironic kind of ways to go, it's like the cruelest ways to take her out. To pluck out her other eye, just leave her to her fate, basically. I do go back and forth about who has the nastiest death in this series. It's between Bud's repeated snake bites to the face, and Elle's having her eye popped out and being left in a trailer, which let's remind it, staggering around blind, and let's remind people still has a snake somewhere in there, so she's going to die sooner or later.
Yeah, it's one of these films where I think both of them are very good in some aspects, and then there are other aspects that you go, this kind of does bring it down a notch. It's not to say that they aren't both massively entertaining.
I love that. I mean, this was purely for budget and time reasons. The original, it was originally going to end with the scene Bill describes, so talking about like a duel on the beach by moonlight. They'd planned that and they were going to do it, which would have been cool and everything. That was like a showdown because it's been built up for so long. But I do kind of respect Tarantino. I do like it or more for just ending it on a conversation. I mean, obviously, they have a bit of a scrap around the table, and he shoots at her, and darts her, but yeah, I just love that it just ends in this kind of this domestic scene, literally just like an estranged couple trying to find some common ground, basically, and work out what went wrong. I think that's lovely.
I actually also think it works because we never really see Bill do much fighting aside from like a couple of shots there, because he's more of a I'm going to get other people to do it. So I don't think he would have had the amazing sort of playability to take her on anyway.
He's like a Darth Vader, basically, isn't he? His presence is always felt, and he's imposing, and people talk about him in hushed whispers. But essentially, he doesn't really get his hands dirty very often.
And he's got enough skills that for 99.98 of the people that he come across, he can hold his own. But you got Uma Thurman, who's cut through hundreds of people to get to you, like. The idea of like a massive kind of 10-minute sword fight on a beach, although it would be cool, I don't think it would have fit, because you're then asking, and in the nicest way, David Carradine at this point, it's at least looking on the older side as well, and I know that's kind of.
He was in his mid to late 60s, and obviously he had a martial arts background when he was younger, in being the Kung Fu series and everything. But
he's not Steven Seagal. He can't still do it even in his 60s,
I do find it funny that kind of you look at like the body count though of the two films. So the first film I think has like 110 like on screen kills or something, and the second has 4. So, very, very different films, but kind of interesting in that way. Because there's lots of like near deaths in the second one, aren't there? Kind of things that could have gone different ways, but again, the bride kind of thinks her way around, the assassin in the hotel room, and just telling her that she's pregnant, and I mean, that's kind of one of my favourite scenes, one of my favourite little gags. Just both got guns trained at each other, and says, "Look, I've just taken a pregnancy test. Look, it's there. It's on the floor." And the assassin's like, "Okay." And she's kind of crouched down with the shotgun still on her and kind of reaching for the pregnancy test. And like, I don't know what this means. The box of instructions over there. All right, okay, look at the box of the instructions. But I think Michael Madsen is a standout in this. I think he's great. I think he really he sells those kind of two sides of the character. This kind of character with like this former assassin with a strange sense of honor, but equally still that kind of sadistic streak, and just kind of pining after, a past, that will never be with him again, and
he's kind of got the same feeling a little bit as whoever makes the sword in the first one. I've left this life behind me, but there are certain circumstances where I'll have to revisit it,
By the way,
kind of a longing.
Fun fact about Hattori Hanzo: he comes from some like 80s samurai TV show that Tarantino described as on the Japanese channel.
Which has Sonny Chiba in, who plays Hattori Hanzo in this.
And so each different, y'all would say series, we would say season. He's Hattori Hanzo 1, 2, 3, 4, and in this one he's like 123 or something.
Yeah, right. Yeah,
beautiful.
I don't know if you guys noticed that when she's, I don't know if you ever noticed the boots that Mr. Blonde was wearing back in Reservoir Dogs. These quite distinctive kind of, because they're all wearing that very sober kind of, obviously black kind of dress, get-ups, apart from Mr. Blonde, who has some fancy footwear on, and the same cowboy boots Uma Thurman's got on when she's been buried in the coffin.
Obviously,
and she also used his razor. It's the same razor that that they used on that film set as well. So
I know. Very quickly, just to link back to one of our previous episodes again, the kind of action teams thing. Obviously, we've mentioned Reservoir Dogs, and just because it's an excuse to link back. Obviously, all the code names for that are taken from Taking Pelham 1, 2, 3. So if you want to go check out that one, it's in our kind of villains teams episode that we did a couple of months ago. Boom, links. This is what you get from this kind of thing.
Yes.
Yeah. And that was it. It was green, blue, and what was the other color? There were 3 guys in Pelham, weren't there?
Mr. Brown.
Is it? Oh, green, blue, and brown. Yeah.
There's 4 of them, isn't it? Panel 1, 2, 3 colors. Let me double check what colors they are. Mr. Blue, Mr. Green, Mr. Grey, Mr. Brown.
Right. Yeah. Okay.
Don't have a pink or a white.
Yeah.
Yellow, but yeah.
Awesome.
Yes.
Another nice line from Michael Madsen. Again, kind of that is kind of brief interaction with Elle Drive, before she kills him. We're talking about, kind of where they found themselves and kind of what's next and everything. And you talk about, that now she's out of the way, kind of which hour are you filled with, relief or regrets?
Yeah, I was going to say the second one is actually it's got the somber tone to it, which kind of again it almost, and it's still got those moments of kind of I'm going to call it outlandish stupidity, because they are moments of outlandish stupidity.
It's fatalistic and somber and thoughtful, except for when it isn't.
Yeah, and I mean there's parts of me that wonder, would the first one have been better to have more of that tone? But the second time I go, the fact that it isn't is what makes the first one. So it's kind of it for me. Sometimes it's downsides, and I think it's more of a downside if you're analyzing it closely. If you're just watching it for a bit of schlock, it's the most amazing thing you've ever seen. If you're watching it in terms to analyze it in terms of the tone and everything like that, that kind of brings it down.
Yeah, Tarantino sort of made a career of like elevating schlock, basically, kind of turning it into kind of not high art but higher arts.
Arguably high art, like it. But at the very least, production values and it's the difference between making a genre film and then like making a collage out of genre film. Like, I don't know. It feels more like it's about cinema and less about just like, let's make a movie about a lady who gets revenge.
Yeah.
Obviously, as well. Sorry, just for the first one, very quickly. We don't have the YouTube. I think we might have one on the audio, although we've done bits in passing. You obviously have some classic kind of music themes and music scores that are being played. So in the first one, Daryl Hannah's whistling. It's it's the Bernard Herrmann, isn't it? I can't remember what it is.
It's known as the Killer's song, isn't it? But
I've got it on a playlist
I
somewhere.
can't remember what originally it's from.
Twisted the Death Nerve or something like that, isn't it? But also, my thing, obviously, we have the theme from Seven Notes in Black, the Psychic, the Lucio Fulci movie, which comes in as well. I'm like, there we go. There's my Fulci in there.
Along with some really random stuff like the Green Hornet TV theme tune, for the scene where Lucy Liu has been driven around Tokyo. It's just
And again, it's moments like that where I go, some of them work for me, and some of them really don't. Like, it's just kind of, am I okay with this? Am I not? I don't know. Stuff like Seven Notes in Black is just exactly right on the note. Others, just a little bit out for me. I don't know.
Yeah. Up until a couple of years ago, Tarantino was still talking about doing a volume 3 of some description. That is now past. Time for that's now passed. He said he's not interested in doing it anymore, which is a shame because I think that would have been interesting. I kind of wanted that to be his 10th film, really, to just finish off his story. Because I think bringing, because he did say he wanted to leave it like 10, 15 years at least to, kind of have characters, age kind of, and have their characters move on. But he said also to give Beatrix and her daughter BB a bit of peace, basically, enough years, just happiness before people come after them to try and kill them. And he said for a while he wanted to have bring Maya Hawke in to play BB, adult BB, so have actually Uma Thurman's daughter, which would have been
fun.
Interesting.
Yeah.
But that's not happening now, unfortunately. But as it is, it's a good kind of complete kind of story, and I think really satisfying and. Kind of performance-wise, I think Madsen's up there, towards the top of it. Pac-Man, obviously, Uma Thurman's great, Carradine's great, Lucy Liu is really good in the first one, but I think of the second film, I think, Michael Madsen kind of definitely stands out. Kind of, it has the most layers, the most nuance, I think, as a character. You know, Daryl Hannah and Bill Carradine as Bill are fun, but they kind of there's no real surprises to their characters. Really, we kind of know what they're about. But I think there's a bit more to Bud, which I think Madsen brings across. So he makes his relatively limited, if you're taking 2 films, screen time kind of count. You know, I think he really remembers scenes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Pulls it off very well, and I mean, I don't know much else that he was in. Again, aside from like things like Free Willy and Donnie Brasco, but after
Hateful
sort of
Eight.
Kill Bill, is he in Hateful Eight? I can't remember where he is.
He's in Hateful Eight. Yeah, he's one of the bandits towards the end.
Okay, but aside
and he's got a small role in Once Upon a Time Hollywood. Apparently, that I don't remember. I can't remember what scene he's in now. But...
like I can't really remember what's happening in. It's been so long since I saw.
I think I like people like Tarantino who have close friendships made through their projects, and then just if they see a friend has not had a bit of work for a while, they say, "Hey, do you want to come out? Do you want to come out and shoot for a couple of days? I'll put you in a scene."
Yeah. But aside from those kind of little moments, he kind of slipped off the radar a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, he's in. I remember him in Sin City. He's in the opening of Sin City. Again in a fairly brief role where he portrays Bruce Willis's character right at the beginning. But
I think it's kind of the '90s where he was most well known for.
Yeah,
and obviously the wolf in Narnia.
Yes, yeah, Captain Morgrim. Yeah. He sounds very. His voice sounds very menacing coming out of a wolf's mouth.
Yeah, but again, you look at his kind of filmography and sort of eventually when he gets to like 2005, 2006, he's in sort of like 7-8 films a year. He'll just turn up on set for a couple of days and go home again. 2009, he's in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17
I've noticed he turned up in a lot of direct to video westerns around that era.
Yeah.
I mean, he was one of these guys. I'm not sure he fit completely in like contemporary kind of settings. He looks right in like the Old West or in like gangster movies, doesn't he?
Like absolutely no offense to him because maybe it's my lack of watching all of his films and maybe it's just he didn't get the opportunities, but he doesn't seem to have a ton of range outside of what he does in these movies that we watch.
No.
Yeah, he plays tough guys well, and
he's very natural.
Tough guy, yeah, tough guys and killers and scoundrels, and that's if you know what you're good at, you stick to it, don't you? Like I said, I think that's what makes his role in Thelma and Louise kind of interesting because it's definitely a softer side to him that you don't get to see very often.
Yeah,
it's true. All right. It's hard to think of a way to close this that's tasteful, but I guess rest in peace, Michael Madsen. Thanks for the movies.
Yeah. And I'm sure, you know what, I think it would be nice at some point to get around to doing a good actor when they're alive. We will have to get on that before all they start leaving us.
Yes.
We have to get them when they're young, at the height of their fame. We should do Timothy Chalamet before we forget about him. Before we forget about him in 30 years' time, he dies. Like, oh, we never got around to him.
Well, Timothy Chalamet finally died, fellas.
I think we're gonna have to do someone that's been around for a while, but we want to cover their career before they die. Like Willem Dafoe would be a great episode, I think.
Yes, or somebody like Javier Bardem or something like that.
Yeah.
All right.
Jodie Foster.
We'll be back next week with another topic, but until then, fellas, where can people find you?
You can find me at SSP Thinks Film and at the Second Cut Pod Substack, where my review for Jurassic World Rebirth has just gone live today. So check that out. I liked it, didn't love it, but it's if you like dinosaurs and you're going to see dinosaurs do dinosaur stuff, then you definitely get that. So.
Yeah, and hopefully you don't find me anywhere. But if you want to, I'm Judgmental in the various places. I'm sure I'll have written something at some point. Who knows? I've got stuff on the Substack.
And
to check out.
you can find me at Jacob Film Guy.
You did Megan 2.0. That's the last one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There you go.
That was for last week, so we'd already covered those last week.
Go. You know what? I'll say it. Go read Kieran's review of Megan because he went and saw it. Megan 2.0, to be clear.
M3gan.
Yes. But yeah, all right. Well, that's going to do it for this episode, but we'll be back with something else. Thank you for listening, and goodbye.
Adios.
Goodbye.